3 ridiculous player props on PrizePicks and Underdog Fantasy. That's what we're going to be discussing. So again, right, PrizePicks, Underdog Fantasy. I love to start with this intro because again, the point of this YouTube, if you're new to it, is OddsJam's goal is to help you learn the strategies that the pros use, the sharps use, people who bet on sports full-time for a living. How do they think about sports betting? Because the old way, right, of Vegas people, finger to the air, oh, I saw this coach, said this on the bus, is BS, right? That's not how people make money sports betting. That's not how the sharps do it, not how the pros do it. It's all about data and finding value. You don't have to win every bet as a sports bettor or as a PrizePicks player, but you need to have an edge, right? And how do you find that edge and consistently place bets with an edge? That's what we're going to discuss. So the first thing that you need to understand about PrizePicks and Underdog Fantasy is these platforms don't vary payouts depending on if you select the overs or the unders. So it's kind of like a parlay where your payout never changes. So on PrizePicks, any 3 picks you select into a power play, you're going to be getting plus 400 odds. 20 to win, not 100, to win 80 in profit, plus your $20 stake back. 20 to win 80 in profit, plus 400 odds. Now, on Underdog Fantasy, it is 20 to win 120. So 20 to win 100 in profit, plus your $20 stake back, right? So it's not 20 to win 120 in profit, it's 100 in profit. That is just plus 500 odds. So the reason I've been using Underdog more is, their payouts are better, right? For a 3-pick entry on PrizePicks, a power play, you only get plus 400. For a 2-pick, you only get plus 200. For Underdog, same payout for a 2-pick entry, you get plus 200, but for a 3-pick entry, you're getting plus 500, which is better. So we've gone through the math before, but essentially you can reverse engineer, and I'll have a video on the end screen kind of about the strategy for understanding the math behind PrizePicks, stuff like that. But long story short, any 3-pick power play on Underdog, you're getting implied juice of minus 122. Okay, minus 122 on the over and the under. Again, your payout won't change on any of these platforms, PrizePicks, whatever. You can see as you change from over to under, your payout doesn't change. Completely different than the sports books and how parlays work, right? So this makes, these fantasy companies, Underdog Fantasy, PrizePicks, very exploitable when you're using OddsJam. And browsing odds on OddsJam for tennis, baseball, whatever you want to look at is 100% free, right? So if you want to look at Underdog Fantasy, completely free to look at their lines on OddsJam and compare them to the sports books, right? So for a 2-pick entry on Underdog, you're getting the implied juice of minus 137, exactly as this spreadsheet says. And again, we've gone through the math, but we can go through it again briefly. But for a 3-pick entry, you're getting much better odds, right? You're only getting minus 122 implied juice on Underdog Fantasy. On PrizePicks, it's a little different. You're getting minus 137 still for a 2-pick entry. For a 5-pick flex play, it's a little more complicated, but you're getting roughly minus 119. But anyways, we can go through very briefly how these numbers make sense, and then we'll get into the picks. So the first thing is like for a 2-pick entry on PrizePicks or Underdog Fantasy, you're getting 20 to win 60, 20 to win 40 in profit, right? 20 to win 60, 20 to win 40 in profit. So that's plus 200 odds, right? So when you're getting plus 200 odds, what we can do is go back here. Essentially, because, PrizePicks and Underdog, they don't vary your payout depending on if you select the over or the under. Essentially, you have a 2-leg parlay where both legs are minus 137 odds, because any sportsbook that has 2 bets at minus 137 odds is going to come out to a plus 200 parlay, right? So essentially, because on Underdog and PrizePicks, any 2-pick entry is just plus 200, the implied odds you're getting, the implied price you're getting is minus 137. So a lot of juice. If you think about it, that's a lot of juice, right? Minus 137 is, 74 cents a vig in their market. They have 74 cents a vig in their market. DraftKings, you can see right here, plus 115 to minus 150, they only have 35 cents. So for a 2-pick entry on PrizePicks and Underdog, right, you have like just so much vig, so much juice baked into their market. But the reason it's possible to still beat them is because they're not varying payouts depending on if you select the over or the under. So for example, our first pick here, which is very profitable, is Mike Trout under 1.5 bases. Why do we like it? All of the sports books have the under heavily juiced. So I'm going to include this in my 3-pick power play on Underdog. Right? I definitely don't want to go with a 2-pick with this pick because, minus 150 to minus 137, getting minus 122 is just so much better. So what we can do is we can go here and we can say, okay, on Caesars, I like doing this because it's helpful to understand how these platforms work, is if we go to the Angels game and then we go to player bases and then we take Mike Trout under 1.5, and then we'll go to Underdog Fantasy and let's take Trout under 1.5. What we'll notice is, okay, can't even bet this on Underdog yet, right? Like, you can't bet until you have at least 2 picks. So, okay, let's go find our second pick. And again, the reason we like this is you're getting a ton of value at minus 122, right? We're getting a ton of value at minus 122. Implied odds, all the sports books have the under heavily juiced, right? Pinnacle, the sharpest bookmaker in the world, they're pricing this at minus 155. We're getting this at the implied price of minus 122 in our Underdog entry. So this bet has a really high profit margin, 2.68%. The stock market returns 8% a year. This one pick in our PrizePicks entry, Underdog Fantasy entry, has a 2.68% profit margin, right? Getting value is what matters. So, like if we go to a no vig odds calculator, you can see the market on Pinnacle, the sharpest sports book. They're giving you the over at plus 116, the unders at minus 155. So you remove the vig and the true price according to Pinnacle is minus 131. We're getting this at minus 122. So we're getting better odds than the no vig odds, or the true odds, the fair odds, whatever you want to call it, right? You got to remove the juice from the sportsbook's market to get the true price according to that sportsbook, right? So this is just like rational, data-driven sports betting. You look for frickin' value, right? You want to be the guy placing bets at minus 122 when every sportsbook is pricing, that same bet at minus 158, to minus 149 to minus 158. And this is why sports betting's so fun, right? Is because all these bookmakers do have different odds. So you can treat each one as an independent data point of what the odds should be. And some sportsbooks are much sharper, more efficient betting markets than others, such as BetOnline and Pinnacle. So you weight their odds more. And here it's like the 2 sharpest bookmakers, they're pricing this at minus 149 on the under and minus 155. So the under is a lot more likely to hit, right? So this is a great pick to include in our Underdog entry. So the second pick I have, Pablo Lopez, over 17.5 outs. Marlins Cubs game, right? Looks pretty incredible at minus 122. No sportsbook giving us better than minus 140. So that's the second pick I want to go with. So we'll go here. And now we can see, so this player is no longer available. So I can't currently bet the player out. So I'm going to have to go, okay, and refresh and find a new play because it looks like they took down already that market of over 17.5 outs. So it's like, okay, is what it is. What's the next play? The next play is David Peralta, over half of a hit. Again, just ridiculous value. Ridiculous value we're getting at minus 122 odds. So what we can do is go, okay, let's go to Caesars and we'll add this in the Rays game. So we want to go to the Rays game. And we'll go to player hits and we want David Peralta. Where are you, buddy? So you can see right now, this 2-leg parlay on Caesars comes out to plus 165. What are we getting on PrizePicks? Or on Underdog, right? We're getting 20 to win 40 in profit. On Caesars, you're getting, 20 to win 52.94, including your stake. Here we're getting 20 to win 60, right? So our payout is a lot juicier currently on PrizePicks, right? or on Underdog Fantasy. I got to stop messing them up. So this is 100 to win 164 in profit, right? 165 in profit. This is 100 to win 200 in profit. Again, not 300 because this includes your stake. And same thing here, right? That includes your stake. So this is 100 to win 164 in profit, 100 to win 200 in profit. So we're getting value, right? So it's pretty simple. Like at the end of the day, you don't really have to understand the math. You just have to hit this refresh button on the positive EV tool, which will scan the markets, kind of updating millions of odds on PrizePicks, Underdog Fantasy, everything to tell you, hey, like here's where the value is, right? And you just place the bets with value. It's pretty simple. Don't overcomplicate sports betting. Tried to overcomplicate it far too long when it's all just about looking for value, right? It's the math. That's what the pros do. That's what the sharps do. And once you take a step back and kind of realize that, your whole mentality on sports betting and DFS will change. You know, you don't have to know what the coach said at practice. You have to know where are the line discrepancies and where's the value in the odds. It makes sports betting a lot more easy. So next we can go with this play, Matt Thesis over half of a hit. And then it's just kind of like, okay, now we have 3 picks in our entry. Great. You know, we want him over. We want David Peralta over and Mike Trout under 1.5 bases. So it's like, great, you know. We're getting, so this is in the Rangers-Angels game. So let's go back here. And we're not going to be able to, I don't think we're going to be able to, so let's go back to the Rangers-Angels game. I don't think we'll be able to parlay this to actually get an accurate representation of the odds. But what you'll notice is, if we go here, is we wanted this guy. So it's not going to let us parlay it because now we have 2 picks from the same game, but maybe it'll let us put it in the same game parlay. So here you can see, you know, this same game parlay comes out to plus 210. So I guess these are anti-correlated. I'm not sure. But regardless, as an example, we can keep this pick. And what we can do is go to MLB and we can go to the second bet I had was, because there's still 2 more picks I wanted to go through, and we can make this a 5-legger. So David Peralta in the Astros game. So if we go to the Astros game, and then we go to Peralta, is what you'll see here is, okay, this is coming out to plus 165 still, but what we can do is we can say, what's the next best pick? If we didn't want any bets from the same game, the next pick you'd want to go with, so that's also the same game, Joe Adell. The next game you'd want to go with is the Diamondbacks game with Davies over 3.5 strikeouts. So what we can do is we can go here and we can say, okay, let's replace this with Davies over 3.5 strikeouts. So we're still getting 100. Again, it doesn't matter what you select. You're still getting 100 to win 500 in profit, plus 500 odds on Underdog Fantasy. What will we be getting on Caesars? So let's go back here. And then we want to go to the Dodgers game. And then, can this guy really strike out 3 Dodgers? We'll see. But we can go to pitching over 3.5. Right? This parlay on Caesars only comes out to plus 352. Plus 352. We're getting plus 500. Right? That is value. So that is value, right? And that kind of shows you, it brings to life. The sports books are only giving you plus 352 on this. We're getting plus 500 on Underdog. Really what the power of OddsJam is, right? Scanning these markets, finding you the value. So it's up to you. I mean, you know, you can take this one because the profit margin's slightly higher, or if you don't want to deal with any correlation nonsense or really anything like that, you can pick a pick from a different game. But regardless, we can hammer this. Let's throw 500 on it. And that's our pick for today. We could not detect your location. Let's try refreshing this, and then maybe it'll detect my location. Okay, there we go. So Mike Trout under 1.5 bases, David Peralta over half of a hit, Zach Davies over 3.5 strikeouts. We wanted the over, correct? Yep, we wanted the over. Minus 122 here. Or again, you can replace it if you want to. What do I like better? What looks better? Honestly, I'm going to go back to this Thesis pick. This one doesn't look this one's just such a low profit margin, 0.07%. But we need 3 picks. So let's go here and let's take him more. And then let's go and let's remove him. So what we can do is now we have 1, 2, 3. So we have Peralta over, Thesis over, which is exactly what we wanted, right? Yep, that's exactly what we wanted. Okay, and we can hit this for $500. Okay, so now we have our pick for today. Trout under 1.5 bases, Thesis over. And what you can also do, which is pretty interesting, is we can go to Caesars and we can go to this Angels game and we can create a 3-leg same game parlay. So if we go here, what we can do is we can say, okay, let's imagine, what are you doing? Let's imagine we took Joe Adell, Thesis, no, this one, and Mike Trout under 1.5 bases. What does this come out to? So this comes out to plus 440, this same game parlay. And again, we'd be getting plus 500 on PrizePicks. So if you only want 3 picks from the same game, that seems pretty good. So it looks like, you know, there's some bigger, the most line discrepancies currently are in the Angels-Rangers game, at least on Underdog Fantasy. And again, what you can do is just like, you know, I just added a filter on OddsJam for sportsbooks is Underdog Fantasy 5-pick. Just so I can see only Underdog Fantasy plays. And then you can kind of refresh and see if anything new comes up. So that's kind of the best solution in my opinion. And then if you want to go back to sportsbooks, because obviously OddsJam is mainly a sports betting product. Oh, that one looks pretty good. Man, so we got some player props coming in. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so hopefully you enjoyed this video. And let's make some money.